Hi everybody. So today I thought we'd experiment a little bit with the Flawless Media Radiant Lustre Powders, and I've got a fabulous demo lined up for you where we're going to use 3 or 4 colours of the lustre powders with the Notebook Botanicals Stamp Collection. This is one of my favourite collections of stamps that I've ever released, and I'm going to keep coming back to it loads because I love it that much. And I'll go through that with you again in a second, just in case you're somebody who hasn't seen these before. And you can see I've got it all cut out and laid up. I haven't pre-done my flowers because I want to do them live for you so you see how I do it. But they're all cut and ready. There's slightly less than what I usually use, but most of you that know me will know by now that floral and pretty is absolutely my thing, and every which way you can colour and shape a flower I've had a go at, I've tried. There are some styles that I come back to, and there are some that I haven't tried, I suppose, but we'll have a play. So we are gonna, like I say, we're gonna use the Radiant Flawless Media Radiant Lustre Powders, and I'll just bring them in because you might not have seen these. I'm assuming most of you have, but if you're a new follower, A, welcome, and B, I'm going to explain to you what they are. So I'm just going to put the lid on and turn that over because it's easier for me to show you the colours if I just turn them upside down, but obviously it's easier to turn them upside down all in one go. So what are these? So these are an amazing product. Flawless Media is my brand of media products, mediums like your texture paste, your texture mediums, your gesso, your paints, your chalky paints, your metallic paints, and the Radiant Lustre Powders. And there are more colours coming. There are currently 30, as I say, and you can see just looking at that, it's going to be really difficult to choose your favourites. So we do sell them in sets. So if you go on the website, I've got them in sets already of cohesive bundles where I've put the colours together to give you a set of 5, or you can get them all. It's entirely up to you. You can buy them individually if you want to buy them individually. And if you are a member of my Facebook group, which is called Crafting with Phill Martin and Sentimentally Yours, I have actually created a blank chart. So you can download the blank chart, print it, and then make yourself a colour swatch using all the different colours. And then if you are collecting them individually, it's easy as well because you can look at the chart and see straight away which ones are missing, which ones you've still yet to collect. So let's just tell you what they are. So the Radiant Lustre Pigment Powders, these are not like mica powders, these are better, and I'm just going to say that they are better than regular plain old mica powder. These have a fixative built in them, they have pigment powder built in them, they have mica in them, and they have dye powder in them, so the colour intensity is really strong. Obviously, the more you dilute these with water, the paler the colour. Less water, the stronger the colour. But you can also mix these with your texture medium. You can mix them with the gesso to create your own paints with them. You can add them to mister bottles to create your own coloured mister, mica mister. And there is just it's one of those products that just does so many things. And for a little pot, there's 25ml in here. But this little pot will last for ages and ages because you use such a little of the product, and I absolutely love these. So I'm going to choose, I think I'm going to stick to, shall I do 3 colours, shall I do 4? Do you know what, let's do 4 colours, and I'm going to choose stronger colours. So let's go for, I want colours that will match, and I want pretty colours. So let's go for this one here, which is called Orchid Whisper. So that one is called Orchid Whisper. I'm going to use the Dandelion because it's one of my favourites. Dandelion is one of my favourite colours. It's like a goldy yellow, it's beautiful. So we've got Dandelion in there. Let's have a green. Oh, choices. I'm going to go for this one. This one's called Serene Sage. So we're going for Serene Sage. And then I'll have one more colour. So what colour are we missing? Purple? Should we go purple or should we go blue? I'm going to go purple. And there are two different ones in here. There's one called Cornflower Petal, and there's one called Enchanted Wisteria. Enchanted Wisteria is the stronger of the two colours. If I just flip that over, you can actually see, if I get it away from the light, you can see that the Enchanted Wisteria is a little bit stronger, so I'm going to go for that one. Kind of my go-to, kind of my go-to colours when I'm doing something that is floral and pretty. I feel like we're missing a blue. I might swap out one of these colours for blue. No, I'm not. I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to stick to these colours. So I'm going to pop the tub back on, the lid back on, and put those out of the way. And then I'll show you what these colours look like together. So you can see already that these colours are going to work really beautifully together. And it's a personal preference thing. I can't tell you which colours go better, because I actually think you could choose any random 3 or 4 of these powders and they will work really well together. But just go with your favourites. Go with the colours you know you like. So I've chosen my colours. I'm now going to move that to one side. And I'm going to quickly flip through the stamps for you, because this is a fabulous collection of stamps. And if you're new to Sentimentally Yours, I would urge you to treat yourself to this collection, because the possibilities are just endless. So I'm going to start with the A6 stamps. So these are A6 stamps. It's all one complete stamp, which I think is fabulous. And I've designed these with kind of a notebook background that tapers off at the edge of the floral element. This one is called Serenity, and each of these has a slightly different notebook texture and slightly different extras. So if I bring that in, you can see we've got the little circles, the little coffee ring marks there. Yeah. So that is the Serenity, and this is the one I'm going to use today. I seem to gravitate towards this Serenity, and I'm going to flip it over. You can see how much I've used that. That's a well-loved stamp, and they are bigger than the packaging. They are effectively a full A6 size. So I'm going to pop that one to one side. They've all got lovely, calm names. So that one is Serenity. This one is called Peaceful, and Peaceful is a lovely doodled floral focal element. Again, they've all got focal elements. Yeah, the focal point with the botanical element. And then this one here, instead of having the circles, you've got doodled squares. So you've got doodled squares in there. And if I just bring that one in, look, you can see that the background is slightly different. I've made them all a little bit different, same but different. And that means you get really good value for money. It means you can replicate. If you're somebody who likes to do art journaling, these are amazing for you, because you can stamp them. In fact, I'm just going to show you. Because I have treated myself to these two Stamperia mixed media journals. And I haven't started them yet, but I might do that along with you. I might start one of these with you, because these stamps, you can see, are going to be perfect for this. Absolutely perfect. In fact, I'm going to add that to my to-do list. We will start a little A6 art journal together. Remind me on Facebook. So that one is Peaceful with a different floral. This one is called Tranquility, and again, a different top, different finished background, and this time you've got more ink splats in there. So you've got ink splats in there. All of these elements, you can stamp this stamp and not colour at all. It looks amazing when you just stamp it and emboss it with embossing powder. But all of them also have the ability for you to add extra colour. So I'm going to put these to this side. And then the last of the A6 ones is called Calmness, and I absolutely love this one as well. Another very delicate floral focal point. And this time you've got little distressed dots going around the edge. So that is that one. And then to complete this collection, I did the 4 A6, which are the ones you've just seen me show you. And then I did extras. And I am going to use the extras today. I haven't decided which ones yet to use, but I am going to use them today. So the whole point of this is you can extend and expand what you do with the A6 stamps. So if I bring this one here, this one's called Postmark Paraphernalia, and I have used this, I can't tell you, so many times. So you've got the beautiful postmarks in there, you've got that lovely shabby compass, you've got the fountain pen, you've got watermarks, little postcard. Flip it over and let you see the size of them. And you can already see, if you're somebody who likes the vintage shabby chic style, as I do, these are going to be worth the weight in gold, because there's just so much you can do with them. So I'll pop that there because I haven't decided yet. Then you've got the wonderful wings, which again is an extension of what you can do. So you can now start to incorporate butterfly elements. I'll turn it over. You can incorporate butterfly elements within that space. You can add the bee, you can have the dragonfly, and so on and so forth. And these are all relatively easy to cut out if you want to create your own ephemera. I might use the button. Look, I'm tormenting myself. Too many choices. And then we can't have this fabulous collection without the additional textures. And the additional textures, which I know for sure I'm going to use today, give you some more notebooks, some blank, turn it over, some more blank notebook look, so you can extend that stamp and make it fit an A5 background if you want it to. You've got the coffee rings in there. You've got the squares that were featured as part of one of the A6 stamps, and then you've got the rings look, and you've got various splats and other textures in there. Another set that is absolutely worth its weight in gold, because you know you're going to use it. So I'll pop that over there. And then to finish off, let me just show you. To finish off, you've got bigger versions. So this one I've called the Wonderful Wildflowers, because that's what these are. And you've got bigger versions of the ones that are in the A6 stamp. So again, giving you the opportunity to extend what you do with these stamps. You can see, look, that's a little bit bigger. And a matting and layering, job done. Decoupage, job done. And you've also got a couple of bonus flourishes in there as well, with the botanical element. So that is the Wonderful Wildflowers. So I'm gonna have to decide now which ones I'm going to use. I'm definitely going to use that. I'm definitely going to use that. And I'm definitely going to use that. So out of the 8, I've used half of the collection, look, 4. And that is the whole point of having a cohesive collection of stamps, that I know I could change this. I could have just pick one of the other flowers and still create a fabulous card, because I know it's all going to work together. So let's get cracking on this card. I'll pop those up there for now. I'll get a drink. I'll try, look, this is my coffee. I've had some already, but it'll be cold by the time I've finished. Coffee crafting with a coffee. Right, so let's bring in my card and explain to you. This is a relatively simple card for me. This is all about the technique with the radiant lustre powders and the different effects that you can achieve with them. So the flowers, I'm just going to pop those to one side, and we're going to start on the actual background of the card. I've got here, how many layers have I got? This is typical Phill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 layers for this card, and this is just my pure white premium cardstock and my elegant ebony black cardstock. Yeah, premium cardstock. This is all I've used, so no other die cutting for this part. And this is the topper, and I've given myself an extra white layer. You wouldn't have to do that. This is just me, because I like double layers on things. So this piece is what we're going to work on first. I'm going to create a lovely rainbow effect, but first we need to stamp the stamp. So if I find my stamping platform, here it is. We're going to stamp and emboss this, and the reason we are embossing is so that the powders have a resist. The stamp has a resist, so the powders won't seep underneath the they won't seep underneath the stamped image. Just make sure I've got no bits on there. I've got bits of glitter everywhere. Can you imagine what my craft room's like? It's a glitter factory. So let's just hold that in place until we get the stamp on and see where we're going with it. And I wanted to do this because you're so used to me doing really elaborate cards with like lots of different shapes and what have you. And this is relatively flat. It's only the flowers that are going to make this dimensional. So let's take the stamp off its carrier sheet and pop it in position. One of the good things about this, and the reason I did them A6 rather than A5, is because you've got all those extras with the big stamp sets, the A5 stamp sets. So you can do this on a larger piece and then extend it, or you can do it on a piece that's a little, this is perfect, look. In fact, I'll measure it. Once I've stamped this, I will measure it for you. So I've got just a little bit coming off the edge, just a little bit of this stamp coming off the edge. And we'll try and hold this card in place so that it doesn't move too much when I lift it up. And I'm stamping just in black. So I'm stamping with the VersaFine Onyx Black. You could use the VersaFine Nocturne if you like, because the Nocturne works just as well. But I'm using the VersaFine Onyx Black and clear embossing powder. Oh, that's the wrong one I've picked up, so let me just change that. That's the Cosmic Crystal, which is the wrong one. Just bear with me, they're only here, so I've not got far to go. These are all the colours of my embossing powders. So Crystal Clear, that is the one I'm looking for. Put that back on the shelf. And have it ready and have it to hand, and then we are good to go. So stamping with the VersaFine. The only reason I've chosen the VersaFine is because I know I can put the embossing powder over the top and it picks up all the tiny details in the stamp. And I'm not sure whether this is one of my worn out ink pads, so we'll find out. If I need to go in twice, I can go in twice. So remember to stamp before you do the powders. It's also nice to do this in reverse. So you could stamp this image with Versamark. With a Versamark, let me just show you. Because the Versamark is just the clear embossing ink. And with clear embossing powder, and then watercolour, use the powders afterwards. And what you get then is a lovely, because it's resisted so with the embossing powder, it actually looks like the stamped image is white, although it isn't. So let's just see if I've pressed that hard enough. That looks fabulous. And I'm going to show you all that amazing detail. Let me just get that done. Oh, what a gorgeous, gorgeous stamp. I mean, already that looks amazing. I'm going to get the powder on first before I clean my stamp, because I don't want it to dry too much. So just a sheet of paper. I can't be doing with the catchers, you know, them embossing powder catchers, that them like glitter tray things. So most of you that have seen me will know that I tell you to do this. So I'm going from the top of the image and I'm starting halfway down and letting the powder fall off, and then I'm going to turn it around and do the other half, and I'm going to repeat that process from the top. Like here, look, I can see I've missed a bit there. Here we go. And then I'm going to turn that round and do it again. And what that means is we're hitting the stamped image on both sides, in both directions, and you've got less chance of missing any of it. So that is ready to go. And I am going to just clean my stamp, because I'm a bit of a neat freak. I want it to be clean, or as clean as I can keep it. That's the only downside to the VersaFine Onyx Black, is that it does stain your stamps. So let's just give that a wipe. But don't you fret, I do have spares. I always have two of all of my stamps, because I like to have one for prosperity, so I know that it's there forever, nice and clean, and one that I call my working stamp, which is this one. That's just me, and that's just because I can. So let's just pop that. That's how much ink, look, we're still on that stamp. Let's just pop that over there. I'm going to take that out of the platform, and I'm going to sit it on top and just let it dry for a bit. Let's just pop that down here. So now we need to heat emboss this image. Now normally when I'm doing sentiments or anything that's got fine detail, I tend to heat emboss from underneath, and that's just my personal thing. I like to do it from underneath, and what that means for me is that the words and the intricate details, the embossing powder looks really glossy and smooth. But for this stamp, because we've got lots of texture already in there, it actually doesn't matter if the embossing powder is a little bit textured. So I'm just going to do it from above. So I'll just grab my heat tool. I'm unplugging the camera, my phone, and plugging in the heat tool. If you could see how many sockets I've got around me, I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's for all the lights, the cameras, the iPad and everything. Right, so I'm just going to heat this from above. I'll just let the heat tool get warm. And I'm just going to start from the top. And what we will end up with is a lovely glossy image. And I'll bring this in to show you in more detail in a second. So if you've never done this before, always follow the image around. You'll see the powder melting, and as the powder melts and goes glossy, just move your heat tool along. So don't do none of this. Just let the image, let the powder melt and follow it along. And just by doing that, I'm going to just change my socket again, bear with me. There we go. I will use the heat gun again. And just by doing that, look, with the embossing powder, oh, there you go. Look how beautiful that looks, and it really makes the black pop. It doesn't have to be black. If you're not a fan of black, you could absolutely use one of the coloured embossing powders. I've got about 30 for you to choose from. But we're going with black today. So just let that cool for a second, and whilst that's cooling, we will get some kitchen roll. Surprise, surprise. Because I don't do mess. And we will get ready to create a lovely watery effect in the background of this. And I'm just going to grab my other water brushes and hope that I've got water in them. And I've got water in one of them, so that will do. So I have 2 different sets of water brushes, and I'm just going to show you them because they are different. So I have the ones on the left are the fine nib. So they are the normal nibs, look. I'm not going to take them all off, but you'll be able to see you've got a big one, a medium one, and a very fine one. And they're the pointy ones. And then this set here is an absolute must-have for backgrounds and things. I'm going to take the lids off these so you can see them, because these are brushes and they're fabulous for your backgrounds. So let's just show you these. So you can see this is the one that's got water in, and I'm going to use that. So these are actually flat brushes, look. And they're amazing. They're definitely worth having in your crafty toolbox, particularly for what we're going to do now. So just pop the lids back on, and you get them in a set of 3, and I think they're about 9 quid or something like that. So for a set of 3, I remember years and years ago, paying 12 quid for one that was this size. 12 quid. It might have even been £12.99. So just shows you I've managed to source us a good price for these. So £8.99 or £7.99, whatever they are. So this is luckily this is the one that's got water in. And I'm going to squeeze some on my mat, or I could actually, you could just do it like this. It's just to get the water flowing in the brush. These have been sat in my toolbox, and I'm going to brush over the whole thing. Doesn't need to be saturated, it just needs to be wet or damp. And this is why you need to use the heat embossing. And now we're going to start dropping some of these powders onto the image, and then we'll wet it again, so you can control how much powder you put on. And it doesn't matter really which order you put these in. Definitely do it with a soft brush. So let's just tap some of this powder on. And what's happening is, because the card is damp underneath, that powder is staying where I want it to. So we're not going to lose loads of it off the image when we wet it even further. And then we'll go in with the next colour. So this is just a soft brush. And this is clearly a strong colour, so I can actually dilute this quite a lot when we get to the watery stage. Oops, and I've been using these powders for well over a year. Let's just keep these to one side in case I want to put any more colour in. And that's how much is still left. Look, it's bare. It's not even got to the first rim of the pot. Then we'll go in with the purple, the Enchanted Wisteria. You can put as much or as little as you like on. I'm going to be a little bit excessive for the purposes of the camera. And then I'll finish off with the dandelion. Don't put your brush in the wet on your mat. And we'll finish off with the dandelion, and the dandelion is probably one of the lighter colours, so I'm going to use a little bit more. And I can always go back in and add more if I want to. I mean, that looks quite pretty before I even do anything else to it. So I'll keep the powders there because, like I say, we can go in and add more if we want to. And now I'm going to take my mister and I'm going to wet this. So a couple of little tips for you with doing this. It's definitely worth having one of my really fine, this is a very fine mist. So I've got a little bit more control because it's a fine mist. If it's one of the, you know, the ones you do your plants with, they're not fine enough. So I'm going to mist this. And already look, already it looks beautiful. I mean, that is just, I'm going to see if I can bring it in and show you. Look, that is just fabulous. And can you see, if I just go down to the bottom where you can see the yellow, the dandelion is mixed in with the orchid whisper, the pink. We're getting lovely orange tones where it's mixing together. And I'm going to add, where the gaps are, I'm going to add a little bit more colour, and I'm going to go with the dandelion. I told you dandelion was one of my favourites. Oops, not as much as that, Phil, but there you go. And I'll add just a little touch of more water. Take the excess off. That was the mistake I made on the last bit. Too much in one go. And I think that's probably enough. Yeah, that's enough. You can see literally as well, I'm using the tiniest amount. So I'm just going to wet that again. Just there you go, look. Fabulous. That looks fabulous. I'm going to stop there because I actually really like that effect. So let me bring that in and show you how beautiful does that look. So this is now going to get put into my inky box, which is just on the floor at the side of me. I'll try not to move that, and we'll leave that to dry. We'll leave that to dry naturally as long as we possibly can. And we're going to recreate that effect. We're going to do exactly the same thing with the flowers. And I've saved my flowers to do them all in one go. It's just easier. You could do this a colour at a time, but I'm looking for this lovely mix of colours to give us that fabulous rainbow effect. So let's get these done. But this time I'm not going to use the flat brush because there's no point. There are too many flowers. It would just take forever. So we're going to mist the flowers with water. And I'm trying to explain to you how wet these are. So these are not absolutely saturated, they're just damp. And I'm going to recreate the same thing. And you know me well enough to know that I'm not going to use the kitchen roll again afterwards. But I do know that if you were my mate Julia Watson, remember to give Julia a follow, everybody. She's just on YouTube and on Facebook, Julia Watts Crafts. She's my good friend, and she's a fabulous inspirational crafter. But she would absolutely use this kitchen roll once it had dried for a background or something, so you could do the same. So I'm just adding the green. This is the Serene Sage, which is a beautiful shade of green. You do have to be patient with this, which is not one of my strong points. And then we'll just go in with, I'm going to go in with the dandelion last. Oops, that was way too much, but hey ho, it'll look pretty. Obviously the more powder you use, the stronger the colour's going to be, but we're going for a nice watercolory effect. And don't forget, I know I said it at the beginning of the video when I was telling you about the powders, you can mix these with my texture medium. So if you use my texture medium, which is like a clear texture paste, if you mix some of this before, you end up with a lovely stained glass window effect. It dries transparent and glossy. Maybe I'll do that on the next video for you. It's got no pink. I'm just making sure they've all got a little bit of pink. I mean, I don't know whether you can't really see this, and I can't lift it up to show you just yet, but the powder is already reacting where the water's pooled. So that's enough pink. And then we'll go in with the Orchid Whisper. No, it's not. I'm telling you a fib. It's Enchanted Wisteria. I'll try and take some of the excess off. There we go. It's a fabulous way to use scraps of cardstock up as well. And this is not watercolour card that I've used. This is just my regular premium pure white card. And it does work really well with the powders. Obviously, I would advise you, if it's the first time you've done this, to treat yourself to a pack of my hot pressed watercolour card, because that is specifically for watercolour techniques. Just making sure, and the colours float really nicely on the watercolour card. Oh, that looks just too pretty. They look lovely just as they are. So that is the Enchanted Wisteria, and then we'll finish with the dandelion. Here we go. So I'm going to be quite heavy with the dandelion as well. And hopefully you can see just how little of this powder I'm using. It's literally being tapped off my brush. So this dandelion gives you a lovely yellow colour, but it looks a little bit gold. So we're also adding like a metallic sheen to this as well. Well, they're all metallic because they've all got mica in. So they're all pearly. These are going to be beautiful. That was a bit too much, but there you go. And now we'll wet these with the mister again. So don't go too close. So because I'm under all these lights, let's just see if you can see. I can bring this in so you can see what these look like without moving them all. I'm trying. Oh, there we go. Oh, apart from the bottom. I mean, they look beautiful just like that, but we are going for the watercolour effect. So remember not to go too close, because the water that was on the first mist has started to dry already. So don't go too close. Oh, yes. Oh, I love these flowers. And we just want the water to start running. We just want the powders to start running, and then that's enough. Oh yes, 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 yes. I can't lift this up to show you now, but you can see. I'm just going to add a little bit more dandelion to this one here. And because my dies, these are the shabby blooms, everybody, because my dies have that lovely debossed line in them. The colour, which is why I always insist on my debossed lines, the colour is pooling, it's channeling inside the debossed line. It looks fabulous. That was a bit too much, Phil. Oh, I'm going to stop because I'll end up spoiling them. Just get that wet. I'm going to move that one. I'm just going to move that one. Squeeze some water out of this. So I'm just going to drop some water from my water brush onto that one. That's it. Yeah, fabulous. And guess where these are going? These are now going in my inky box. These colours look amazing. I can't wait for these to dry so that you can see what they look like when they're dried. But they look amazing. Let's try and get these in here without dropping them. Fabulous. So that's just one way of using the lustre powders, and it's just one of those products, like I said right at the beginning, that just do so many different things. You can even paint with them. You can create your own watercolour palette with these. So they are definitely a worthwhile investment. Right, let's get cracking. So while we're waiting for that to dry, look at this fabulous big kitchen roll. I'm going to show you this because I'm a bit obsessed with kitchen roll. So when I did the craftathon in the Sheffield workshop a few weeks ago, my sister had I noticed these on the tables for the class, and this is a massive big kitchen roll. I'm just going to show you. That's my ordinary one, though. And you've got an extra couple of inches of kitchen roll. I can't tell you the brand because I've no idea, but I'm sure she'd be able to tell you. So before I do that, I'm going to do one more job. And I told you the coffee would go cold. I'm just going to transfer the flowers onto a drier piece of kitchen roll because the dampness from underneath will make them take longer to dry. The mica is fabulous, and the pigment is what keeps these colours strong. So the pigment powder that's in there is what keeps these colours lovely and strong. It's very subtle. It's still soft. It's still watercoloured, which is what we wanted. Look at that. You can see the pearlescent sheen before they're even dry. And for somebody like me who's loving flowers on his projects, that's the waist look. That's going in the bin. And we'll put the image on there as well, just because we can. I'll put that back in my inky box. So I know what you're thinking, can you heat dry these? So can you use your heat tool to dry them? And yes, you absolutely can. But I try to leave it as long as possible naturally, to dry naturally. Because as soon as you start applying the heat tool, it starts blowing the powders about, and we don't want to blow all that lovely colour off. Right, so while we're waiting for these to dry, we're going to move on to the background. So this is the background layer where we're going to use the extras. I've just undone my water brush. So we're going to create an extension of this stamp. I'm not putting any colour on. I might do, we'll see. I might do, we'll see. So I'm going to stamp in the black, the same again. I'm not going to heat emboss this time. I'm just going to leave it as plain ink. And within this stamp, remember we've got the little circles, the coffee rings. So I'm going to take those from the notebook textures. And I didn't just give you one look, I've given you several. So you've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4 different versions of the coffee rings. So this one here with 3, that's got 2, and that's a big one individually, and that's a small one. And I'm going to go for the triple. So we're going to create a coordinating background now. I'm using my acrylic blocks, my acrylic circles look for this. And I'm not sure whether you've all got these or not. If you haven't, it's well worth treating yourself to a set of these. These are the ones that have that lovely ridge for easy stamping. You wouldn't use your stamping platform for this because we're obviously just going to create a background. And these have that lovely ridge, so they're easy to control. So now let's start stamping, and I'm going to do it the naughty way. And I'm just going to take the stamp to the ink and create a background. Just show you before we start. This is the middle topper layer. This is the layer for the topper look. So I know I've only got to come in about 1 inch. And tips for backgrounds, I'm not going to overdo this. I don't want it to be overdone. And then we'll decide afterwards whether I want to add any colour to this. Let's go 3/4 of the way up and then 3/4 of the way down. Because the flowers have the colour, I might just leave the background to this plain and just ink the edges. So we've started with that texture. And we'll move on to one of the others. So within here, look, I can see we've got ink splats. So I'm going to find some ink splats. And this one looks perfect. So we'll extend it. I mean, that looks lovely just as it is. So I'm going to do the whole gap. I'm going to do the whole gap between them. It's really quick and easy to do this. So I'm avoiding the circles because there are a couple of different options for adding colour if we want to. I'm turning this around so that the lines are all facing inwards. How easy was that? That was just too easy. Too easy. And now we're going to move on to the postmark paraphernalia. So the postmark paraphernalia has the postmarks in it. If I can get this back in its pack. So the postmark paraphernalia has the postmarks in it, the tickets, that fabulous compass. But I'm just going to take a couple of the postmarks. So let's have the one that's got London and Paris. I'm just looking. Too many choices, you see. Yeah, I'm gonna have London and Paris. So that's Paris and that's London. And I'll do these separately. Let's get that back in the middle. So this time I'm going next to the circles. Oh, that's just lovely. So easy to do and so satisfying to do. You can do as little or as much as you like. I'm just going to do one more, which will be the London one. Now remember, you could do second generation as well if you want, so that they're a bit lighter. But I'm keeping this all black so that it stands out. And now I'm going to go to the opposite side. And I'm just rotating the image each time I do it. So that way. And that way. How fabulous does that look? And that's a little tip for you, because I'm probably going to add some colour to these circles, which is why I didn't stamp over them with the texture. And let's just, before I finish, let's just check that we've gone in far enough. And we have. I mean, look how fabulous that looks. Let me bring that in to show you. The ink's not quite dry yet. But how fabulous does that look? And so easy to do. So easy. Right, so let's put this back. I've cleaned the stamp. Where are you, London? I'm just wondering whether we need any little... I'm just wondering whether we need any extra... No, I'm not. I'm going to stop. I think that's enough. Come on, get back in. Okay, so I've now finished with the notebook textures, and I've finished with the postmark paraphernalia. Created a fabulous background. And now we're going to let that dry and move on to the butterflies. So we'll create our butterfly embellishments. And I might just have one, but let's see. Let's see. So which butterfly to go for? Because I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to choose one that's easy. Oh, I'm spoilt for choice. This one. This one or that one? This one. So I've gone for the largest, and I am only doing one. And I'm going to stamp this again with the onyx black. And I am going to heat emboss this. And then we're going to colour it with the... We're going to create a paint with the lustre powders and colour it in, but only after I've heat embossed it and cut it out. This is the only thing for me as a tidy crafter. The only thing that bugs me when I'm using onyx black, and I'm going to show you in a second, when you're cleaning your stamps like I've just done, you end up with black fingernails. They will be cleaned later, have no fear. So let's get the embossing powder on. Again, I'm going with the clear, and I'm going to emboss before I cut out. And that will do two things for me. It will strengthen the antennae of the butterfly when I'm cutting around it, unless I chop them off. So from above, I'm and from below. And the clear embossing powder, the crystal clear, is so fine. It's almost like you can't feel it. It's such a fine powder, but it's one of those absolute must-haves. So I'm going to plug the heat tool back in again. And this time I am going to go from underneath this time. And I'll try and get in the shot so you can see what I'm doing. So I'll start at the top here. And hopefully you'll be able to see that change. If I get the angle right, there we go. And I'll move my finger in a minute. So when you're heating from underneath, you need to stay about, I'm just going to do it with my tweezers so I don't burn my finger. You need to stay about 1.5 inches, 2 inches away from underneath, look, about that far. And just let the powder do its job. Let the heat tool do its job, and it's the same thing. Don't move the heat tool around. Just follow the image. Look at that, look. We've now created a beautiful glossy butterfly. Isn't that just beautiful? So I'm going to cut that out first. Let's just make sure it's cooled down enough. And it has. So I'll cut this really quickly. And I'm cutting it out before I put the powders on. Only because once I put the powders on and we've made the paint, I can just leave it to dry a little bit and I don't need to worry about cutting it afterwards. So just fussy cut, you don't need to be particularly neat. I've made sure they're relatively easy to cut out. It's only the antennae that you might have to fiddle about with. And I'll give you a massive big tip for the antennae, because obviously you're not going to get it perfect. Nobody is. I'm the worst at cutting out. So the massive big tip I can give you is, don't worry if you chop them off, doesn't matter. But if you manage to keep them on and intact, just glitter them afterwards, which is what we'll do. And then they just look like pretty glittery antennae. So no stress, easy peasy. If I can cut this quickly, and I'm the most impatient crafter for cutting out. There we go. How fabulous does that look? Isn't that just beautiful? So let's get some colouring in done. So we're going to do 2 bits of colouring in now. Let's just see how everything's doing in our inky box. I'm just going to show you, look, so you can see the main image is still damp. Oh, it looks amazing. It looks amazing. You can see where it's started to dry. Look, and oh, you've got that lovely lustre, the pearlescent shimmer. So leave it as long as we can, and look at these flowers. This is why I like to leave them to dry till the very last minute while before I use my heat gun to force dry them. I much prefer not to force dry them. So now we're going to create a paint with the lustre powders, so we can colour these butterflies in to match, and some of these circles. And this is the easiest thing. So we've already used these powders to create a lovely watery background just by tapping them on and spritzing them with water. And now we're going to actually paint some of these elements in. I'm just going to do the circles and the butterfly. I'm not going to colour the whole background. Oops. Poor love. Poor butterfly. So your other one's getting chopped off as well. Sorry, darling. It won't matter, but we can't have him with one. It would look odd. But it still looks fab without them. So with the butterfly, we're going to put some water on our mat. Just try and make sure I've got everything in the shot and screen that you need to see. There we go. So a bit of water on the mat. So this is just water from my water mister. And we'll go, which colour? You know what colour I'm going to go to first. I'm going to go to my dandelion first. So, tip for you, everybody. When you're dipping your water brush, sometimes these will stain your water brushes because they've got pigment powder in. So you could use a regular paintbrush if you wanted to, but I don't mind. It won't transfer once you've cleaned your paintbrush. So just remember not to squeeze water into your powders. And you can see now we've created this fabulous watercolour paint. You can just see, I can't lift it up to show you, but you can see. And now I'm just going to colour in. I'm a little bit, you know, I need things to match. So I'm not colouring them in perfectly. I'm just adding some colour. And this is the big, so I'm doing the big one in the dandelion. And these will dry super pearlescent. And I'll do the same with the butterfly. And because we've used the heat tool and the embossing powder, the embossing powder is resisting. It's resisting the water from the water brush. So let's just clean my water brush. And I'll just show you now because you'll be able to see what I mean about it tinting your, staining your water brush look. So it's just got a yellowy tint. Won't harm it, won't transfer. And then we'll move on to the pink, the Orchid Whisper. So create a paint with the Orchid Whisper. The more powder you put in, obviously the stronger the colour is going to be. And then we'll do the one that's next to it with the Orchid Whisper. Remember when you're doing this that your ink pad needs to be water resistant because we've not heat set the background. We didn't heat set it because we just kept it plain, just stamped. It's actually creating lovely watery bubbles, which looks amazing. And then we can leave this to dry. So for the butterfly, I'm just going to literally touch some of this colour, look, and let it bleed out. Don't worry about it sitting on top of the embossing powder. It won't stain the embossing powder. It will wipe off after we've finished. Oh, that's just lovely. It's a shame to... I'm just making that one a bit stronger. Okay, clean the brush. And I've got one more colour to choose. So do we go green or purple? Let's have a look. We will go green. So I've just had a look at my background, the botanical image, the Serenity Stamp, to see which colour was least dominant, and it is the green, which is why I'm choosing the green for this. So remember, don't mix your colours. Oh, this colour is amazing. This is the Serene Sage, it's beautiful. Oh, look at that colour. They're all stunning colours, so I'm sorry I can't help you choose. So I'm not going right up to the edge of the stamped image because we've not, although the Onyx Black is water resistant, if I go over the stamped image without the embossing powder, the mica will sit on top when it dries, and these just look like lovely watery bubbles. How fabulous does that look? And we'll just drop a little bit on the butterfly, so I'll go from the other side for this. So we've got 3 colours on there. It's just bleeding into it, which is what we want it to do. And we'll leave that to dry now. I'm not going to put any more colour on there. I quite like that, just that little pop. That little pop of colour. It's a shame really because I've still got some powder here, but hey ho. Right, so I'll just show you what the butterfly looks like. Got to give it time to bleed in and dry. So that's the butterfly. It's obviously not dry yet, so we'll leave that to one side to dry. And you can move it around, but if you don't like it when you're finished, you can go in again. And this is the, if I wiggle that, you can actually see for the gold. Look, the gold has already started to dry, the dandelion. There you go. And we'll pop that to one side and leave that to dry as well. So the longer you can leave things, the better. So now we'll move on to our sentiment. And that's what it's done to my water brush. Look, let me just clean that. So it's stained my water brush, look. But it doesn't matter. It won't harm it. And that colour won't transfer, as you saw. So now we're going to move on to the sentiment. And for the sentiment, it's going to go at the top. And these stamps are really, really, really forgiving for whatever occasion you want them to be. So it can absolutely be anything you want. So it could be, well, you could just leave it blank, or you could have your motivational sentiments on. But I'm going to do one of these, and I always forget these stamps, and I've purposefully hunted for them today. And these are the Elegant Brush Script sentiments, and they're just stunning, look. So these have, I'm going to show you the set. This is the essential set that I'm showing you. Essential sentiments. And this one has some big sentiments, and it also has the mini ones. So you've got the mini version. So you've got Happy Birthday there, that's big. And then you've got Happy Birthday here, that's mini. And if I just zoom in on that one, look, just so you can see it, you've got the double swish on the capital letters, and they just look so, so pretty. And I've got one of my stitch torn ovals. I'm going to show you the borders as well, because I very nearly went for the borders. So you've got borders to match. So the essentials, which are your regular type, and then you've got the border sentiments that are absolutely fabulous as well. I mean, look at that. Sending happy birthday wishes. And you've got that lovely, fabulous double swish. They just look beautiful. Oh, I love that one as well. Enjoy every precious moment. That could be anything. You could use that for wedding cards, anniversary cards. Have the best birthday ever. So with these two sets, you've obviously got your border style and you've got your regular style covered. I will pop a link for you in the description for the video in case you want to get these, because these are about a year, maybe 2 years old. So I know for a fact we won't have much stock of these, and they're definitely worth having in your crafty stash because they're just so pretty. So we're going to move to the essentials and choose one of the smaller ones. And you can see, look, For You Fits, have fun, enjoy today. Doesn't, oh it does actually. Enjoy today fits, with love fits, and so does birthday wishes, and so does happy birthday. But I'm going to go for with love. Let's go for with love, because it covers everything then. And I'm going to stamp this, but I'm not going to emboss it. I'm going to leave that as just black ink. So here we go. Make sure I've got no glitter on that, because I usually do. And I'm doing it the naughty way, so I'm just putting the... I always teach, never put the stamp to the ink. But when it's a small stamp like this, it's okay, it won't matter. So let's just... I'm just bringing this closer to me so I can see where I'm going. Sorry, everybody. With love. I'm just holding for a second. That is just so pretty. That is just so pretty. Definitely worth treating yourself to these if you can. Right, we are getting there. We are getting there slowly but surely. We've still got the flowers to create. And I'm going to show you a different thing to do with the flowers. So let's just see how we are getting on with everything. So the flowers are almost dry. The image is almost dry, but not quite. If I wiggle that, can you see all that lovely pearlescent oh, look at that. I'm sorry if it dazzles you. So I'm going to leave that one as long as I can. We're going to bring the flowers out. So I'll bring the flowers out and then I'll just heat dry them. I'll heat tool them just to finish them off, because they are mainly dry now. So just bear with me. Don't they look beautiful? And I love the mix of colours, it's gorgeous. And I love that it's gone down into the lines of the debossed. How fabulous is that? It just enhances that debossed detail. Just got a couple more to do. Last one. Here we go. So we are going to use the heat tool just to finish these off. I wouldn't normally, as you know, I would normally leave them. But we don't want to be here all night doing that. So let's just hold one in place. I'm going to go on the low speed. So I'm going to go on number 1, the low speed. So I'm trying this, I've gone on the low speed so that I'm not pushing the water too much. So it's low speed, but it is still warm. And it just evaporates the water. These look amazing. These flowers look fantastic. I'm so pleased with them. So just bear with me while we get these done. And then I'll bring them in to show you all that lovely mica. Remember to do this on your heat-proof mat, your heat-resistant mat. I do sell the heat-resistant mats. non-stick, non-slip, so they don't slip either. They've got silicone on the back. And I sell them, as you can see from the screen, the one that I work on is my A3 mat. And then just to the right of the screen, you can see I've got my A4 one. So the smaller version. And the smaller version is where I keep all my tools and everything. And where I put glue and everything, so I don't get it where I don't want it. This looks fantastic. Amazing. We're almost done. It also makes your card a little bit more rigid, having the powders on, so your flowers will keep the shape. So whichever way you decide to shape them, they'll look fab. Last one. That's it. I think that's the last time we need the heat gun. So, phone's going back in. And I'll bring one of these in to show you. Look, what have I got on there? Bit of glue. So I've just chucked some of these on my hand so you can see this lovely watercolour effect. It looks beautiful. These flowers just look fabulous. That you can see the sheen on that. Aren't they just beautiful? And you can see where the powder was heavier, look. I'll just wiggle that one. Where the powder was heavier, it almost looks like we've got molten metal. That's the dandelion, don't they look fab? Right, so we've got the flowers ready, so now let's get them shaped. So I'm just going to do my usual thing, and I'm just going to shape them with my ball tool, and I'm not going to overwork them. I'm just going to give them a little bit of shape. Personal preference, these flowers would look fab whether you shaped them or not. But I like to give them just a little bit of shape. And I know I had these in duos. And I'm putting, believe it or not, I'm putting obsidian gems in these. So that's for that. That's for that. That's one flower. It won't take me long. I do this with my eyes shut. I do it in my sleep. What a fabulous array of colours, look. And remember, I've used four colours on this. You could do this with 2, you could do it with 5, you could do it with as many as you like. And I think this is the freedom the Radiant Lustre powders give you. They give you so many different options for your colours. Like here, look, on this flower, it looks like I had more green and purple than I did the pink. So it actually looks really vintage. It's just fabulous. I can't tell you how much I love the Radiant Lustre powders. It's certainly worth having. There are more colours coming, so it's certainly worth having the full collection if you can, before I release the next new set of colours next year. So I'm just working my way around these. I'm not being too precise. Let's see how long I've been doing this video. How long have we been at it? Oh, that's not bad. 1 hour 15. That's about average for me. And then by the time we've finished putting it together, it'll be another maybe half an hour. But we are on the last leg. And I love colour. So these are amazing. Right, so let me just put these in the order that I had them on my card when I first started. So we've got a 2, a 2, and then 3 individual ones. So let's get these put together. Oh, what did I tell you at the beginning? It's freezing, but I've got to drink it. I think you'll get this as fellow crafters. You'll get that we're used to cold coffee or tea, whichever is your thing. So I'm just gluing these together with my regular premium PVA. You just need to bear in mind that the flower will take longer to adhere together, only seconds, because we've got the powders on there. So just give it a second. Well, that's actually grabbed already. How fabulous does that flower look? Absolutely love that lustre that you get from the powders and the colours. It's a kaleidoscope of colour. It's amazing. I love it when I do things like this because it just never ever gets boring. And the possibilities are just never ending. And we're creating fuller flowers just by layering them up. So I always have a bigger, you must know this by now, I always have a bigger focal flower, which is this one. So I'm just letting the glue grab. I am going to put black gems in though. Because it will tie in with the black on the cardstock. So almost done. And hopefully you can see the scope. You can see the scope of how you can recreate this in different colours. Just by changing the colour choices changes the whole look of it. We could quite easily have gone for the really bright vivid colours like the electric blue. Could do it with one colour, could do it with 2 colours. It's entirely up to you. So let's just see how we're doing with the image. Let's get the gems in. So as I mentioned, I'm going with the obsidian. I'm going with the obsidian gems. So these are my Crystal Gemporium gems. So obsidian, as I said, but these are not like regular gems that you find everywhere and nowhere. These are multifaceted gems and they are stunning. If you've never seen these before, I'm going to show you one on my hand. So I'll get one of each just to show you. So these are multifaceted. So can you see as I move that around just with the tip of my tweezers? You've got the light old cut or brilliance cut diamonds, so the light catches them from every angle. And black gems are really, really difficult to get right. And I think these just look amazing. More 1 minute. Sorry everybody else, because I'm too excited about gems. More importantly, they are black on the bottom as well. Right, let's get these done. So I'm going to put the glue in. and I'm putting extra glue, so I'm being excessive with the glue. I'm going to do that with all of them. So I've put way more glue in than was required. All will become clear. All will become clear. So you can see, in fact I need a little bit more in that one. You can actually see how thick my glue is as well. It's not like normal PVA. So we've got quite a lot of glue in there. I'm going to choose the gems. So I'm just going to my little pickup tool. I'm not going to pop them in yet. I'm just going to get them ready. So a small one, small one. Small one. Small one. I'm just putting the gems where they're next to the flowers that they relate to. And 2 large ones. 2 8mm. Must-have tool. Absolute must-have tool. Your pickup tool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the gems in, and when I put the gems in and squash it into the glue is going to seep around the outside of the gem, and we're going to fill it in with these fabulous art stones from Finnabair Prima. So you might have seen a video I did a while ago with the powders, where I use the medium sized stones, and these are the mini, and I'm just going to show you how tiny these are. Well, you can actually see they're almost like granules, and these will sit around, they will stick to the glue and sit around. So I'm just going to give you a little tip. Have yourself a lid. So just have a lid from one of your tubs, and we will work our way through this. So let me just show you, look. I'm going to do one at a time. So that's what happens, look. The gem, the obsidian gem, is almost hidden underneath the glue. I don't want it to cover it, which is why I'm doing one at a time. And then we're going to have some of these. Oh, look at that. Look. I'm put it on my hand so you can see it properly. So we've now got a little bit of the black showing, and those fabulous little beads, the little art stones. Now the art stones are like a bisque colour. They're like an off-white. So when the glue dries, because the glue will dry clear, all you'll be left with is that lovely bisque colour around the gem. It looks fantastic. So let's get these done. And remember, you can colour them as well. Just remember to do it on over a tub lid. Otherwise they'll just go everywhere. I'm not trying to cover the gem. I want a little bit of the black to be poking through. I do have the mini stones and the medium and the large stones on the website, and it's just a fabulous easy way to add texture to the center of your flowers. Look, it's almost like, I can't remember, but it's almost like pollen. And when they're dry, you can colour them as well. So you can use your lustre powders and just mix it as a paint like we did with the butterfly, and just drop it on. I'm going to leave that lovely bisque colour because it just separates the black from the flower, from the colour of the flowers. Oh, it's just so pretty. Last two. last two, last one. And if that happens, like I've got, that went over the top, just use the little shaping tool from the back of your pickup tool and just push them back. That's it, perfect. I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm just going to push them back a bit so I see a bit more of the gem underneath. Oops, that didn't do it right, Phil. That's better. That's it. Did you hear me talk? I'm tutting at the flower falling upside down, and then just get these back in. These are really staticky, so it's worth anti-static. Put your teeth in, Phil. It's worth using your anti-static tool, anti-static bag, just on the inside of your tub. There you go, all gone. It's just something a little bit different, and I think they look fabulous. Except for that one that's got covered over. So let's fix that. That's it. Remember, the glue dries clear, so all we'll be left with is the gem and the little stones on the outside. So let's pop them to one side and leave them to set for a minute. And now we can get this card put together, hopefully. So the image, oh, it's still not quite dry, but look at that. Oh, that's just stunning. I'm going to have to quickly just finish it off with the heat tool. Sorry, everybody. I was hoping it would be done by now, but it's just being awkward. So remember, in fact, let me just show you, look, because remember when I said to you right at the beginning that all of these A6 stamps, so this one here, look, the Serenity, the Calmness, the Peaceful, etc., Tranquility, these all have a little open space in the flower for you to colour them in and add your own colour. But because, look at that, look at that, it's fallen in, the colour has fallen into the open parts of this flower, and it just looks incredible. So I'm going to have to be gentle with this because we have already used the heat tool on the embossing powder, and I don't want to heat it again. We could do it from the other side. And I am wafting this time, sorry everybody. Just so that I don't concentrate the heat in one place. That looks phenomenal. That's it. That's definitely dry now. So I'll show you that while it's just cooling down for a second. Save my kitchen roll, I'm not wasting that little baby. I can start to put this card together. Oh, look at that. Look at that colour. I'm trying to catch the light so you can see the shimmer. There you go, look. How stunning is that? And so easy to do. That's literally one stamp. One stamp, stamped in black, embossed with clear, and the 4 colours of lustre powders on there. Right, So inevitably that happens when you're using a non-watercolour card. You will get the beveling, the kinky. So as ever, my top tip for this is to go on the back, give it a couple of mists with water. You don't want it saturated, just damp, and then pop it underneath. I'm trying to find a tub. I've just found this tub. And then pop it underneath something heavy, like a little pot with your dyes in. And as that dries, it will flatten out. So we'll leave that till the end, and we'll start with the back of this card. So I'll just get this dried, and we'll start putting this card together now. I guess this would take me about 2 hours, so I wasn't far off. So I already know that these are for the topper. And this piece here is literally just plain white onto elegant ebony, and it's just going on flat. No stamping, it's just a border. You could omit this layer if you wanted to, but me being me, it's going on. So we've just got a plain layer. Let's just check, see if these are look at that, look at that shimmer. Oh, that's just fabulous. So we've got watercolory and shimmery all in one go, and I think I was right to just do those colours. So this is also going onto here flat, so just flat with glue, which I know is unheard of for me. So just make sure I've got the postage stamps the right way up. And this is why I like the white layer underneath. So if you look, because I've stamped a background onto this piece at the top, we've now got a little plain white piece separating it. Let me just flatten that down. We've now got that plain white piece of card separating it, so it actually makes it pop a little bit more. Look, doesn't that look beautiful? Just like that, it looks fabulous. So this is going onto the base of the card on foam tape. Just to give it some height. There we go. Let's just see how my image is doing. Yeah, it's not doing too bad. I'm just flipping it over. Just flipping it over. So this can now go onto the card. Pokey tool. We are nearly done. We've only got about 5 minutes left, everybody. And thank you for staying for the duration. I hope I've given you some inspiration with these fabulous powders. Look at the butterfly, look. It's not quite dry, but it's nearly there. It will be by the time we've done, I think. So I'm just going to stand up to put this onto my base. And I know what you're going to ask me, what size is the base of this card? So I will quickly measure it for you. Now, I don't do regular cards, as you know, very rarely. I just make the sizes up as I go along. So you could scale this down to fit on an 8x8 card, for example. But this base layer is 17 by 21.5, which is obviously a bit bigger than a 8x8. But you could easily scale that down to an 8x8. So let's just pop that to one side. Let's come back to our image, which are, oh, look at that, look. That's fabulous. So we're going to just be careful when you've got damp card. This is just still a little bit damp. So when you put damp card onto another layer, it tends to shrink and buckle a bit. So we'll get this on here again with the plain white border, look, just so that it makes that fabulous image pop. And I'm going to pop this underneath the tub as well. And just leave it for a second to give the glue time to grab. So while we're waiting for that, we'll put the foam tape on here. Because this is going to go into the centre of this card with the image on top. But I can pop that in first while I'm waiting. And then we'll come back to the flowers and see how they're doing. I know that they won't be dry yet because I used excessive glue in the centre. So stand up so I can do this and make sure it's straight. Oh, watch the difference, look. Oh, that is just fabulous. That looks amazing. At this stage, you could put absolutely anything on the top of that. Couldn't you? You could put absolutely any image on the top of that. So let's see where we are with the flowers. I'm just going to give them a little poke up. Just while the glue's setting. And I know that the glue won't be dry yet because I used a lot of glue, didn't I? So the flowers will have relaxed back a little bit. But it's not too bad. I think we'll get away with this. So all I'm doing, let me just show you what I'm doing, look. Because I know that there's lots of glue. I've got my pokey tool and I'm just pushing on the gem in the middle. I'm just poking up the fronds for each flower. And you only really need to do this when you use a lot of glue, which I obviously did to get the little stones around the edge. I'm going to leave the stones the colour that they are, but you could colour them in. Remember I told you you can colour them in with inks as well, but I would leave them plain just because it separates the colour when these have dried. And I'll take a proper photo of this and pop it on the Sentimentally Yours Facebook page tomorrow once it's all dried, and you will see then that lovely little layer of bisque, that just like slightly beige colour look from the stones, it will separate the black from the colour, which is what we want. Oh, I think we are good to go. Look at that now, look. Perfectly straight. And this is also going on foam tape. And then we've just got to put the flowers on, the sentiment on, and the foliage. I'll do a quick recap for you at the end of what I've used. There is no glitter on this card yet. By the time you see the photo of it, it very well may have glitter on, but it doesn't always need it when you've got lustre powders, because the lustre powders have got that lovely pearlescent sheen. And obviously, if we're investing in the lustre powders with that lovely pearlescent sheen, oh, there you go. Look at that, catching the light. Yeah, if you're investing in the lustre powders with that pearly sheen, you don't really want to be putting loads of glitter on as well. Right, here we go. So the foliage I've already got done. And the foliage I've got here, if I can just grab it, is one of my favourites, and you will all know this by now. This is the leafy frond, floaty fronds, not leafy fronds, floaty fronds. And I've just glittered the edge of them, so not all the way down, because I'm only going to use a section of them. And this is actually the largest frond. In fact, I'll show you the die set in a second. And I always do a large and a small for every bit of foliage. Foliage is key. It's the finishing touches, it's the details. And it's the details that make us better crafters. and better than the cards that you can buy in the shops. Even if you're just making these for yourself and for your family and friends, it shows just how fab you are as a crafter. So I've now literally, look, just made these into little fronds, and I'll quickly show you the dies, because I haven't shown you any of the dies that I've used today. So this is the Shabby Blooms, which are the flowers. That's the Shabby Blooms, look. And there you have you have 9 dies. I'm trying to see what's under. Oh, there you go. You have 9 dies on there, and from large right through to small. And then you've got the floaty fronds, which is the foliage. And the one that I've just used is the largest of the two. Left facing, right facing, 2 sizes, and you can obviously snip them down, which is what I've done. So let's get this card put together. The sentiment, which is here, look, I'm going to put it at the top, and I'm not going to put any ink around it or anything. I'm going to leave it just plain white. Yeah, it might be glittered when you see it on the photograph. I've not decided yet, but let's get these flowers on. We are almost done, everybody. Whoop, whoop. So, flowers. You probably know the drill by now. It's either bottom left, top right, or just bottom left, or just bottom right. And this is going on the actual image. So right at the very corner of the image. So we still get to see that lovely background. So biggest flower in the corner. It's just for balance. It's just personal preference. That's my thing. You don't have to do that. That's just me. And I've made sure that the biggest one is the one that's the highest. Oh, look at this card. It's just beautiful and a little bit different to what I normally do. So now let's get these smaller ones on. And then the foliage will be tucked in last. Just creating layers, look. Get underneath. Nearly done. Nearly done. Just so you know, that was the glue, not me. So these are still obviously a little bit damp with the glue in the centre. So I've created like a little trail look of the flowers. The butterfly I'm going to shape up. Oh, that wasn't quite dry, but doesn't matter. So the butterfly I'm going to shape up when I find a bone folder. So I'm just shaping the wings backwards. And to think that all this started out just as plain cardstock. So we had plain white cardstock and black cardstock, and this is the result. Just mixing it up with the lustre powders. Right, so let's get the foliage tucked in. So the smallest one. Tweezers, where are you? You know I like my bits of foliage. Foliage maketh the card. Well, it does for me. And 2 more. Remember as well, these little beads, the little art stones, once they've set on your, just get that underneath, that's it. Once they've set around your flower, around the centre of your flower, and the glitter has dried, you won't get any shedding, so none of them will fall off. So once it's set, they're going nowhere. I'll just see where I want this. My instinct is telling me here, but I think that's wrong. I think it needs to be there. Yeah, it needs to be where I thought. Nearly done. We're just on the last legs now. So I'm going to tuck that underneath. Let's just bring that up. That's it. This is why I prefer the glue gel to put my flowers and foliage on. And now we've got the sentiment, which is going to go, do you know what, it could go anywhere, but I'm fancying it at the top, so it's going to the top. And it just breaks up as well, it balances, it gives some balance to the project. So let's have that coming off the edge. Just make sure that's straight. It is now. And then last but not least, we've got, I mean, look at this stunning butterfly. And you've got the shimmer from the powders. It's just fabulous. So we've got choices now where to put this. And honestly, when I was prepping this video for you, my instinct was to put it here, and I still think I want it there. But if I put it there, look how deep this card is. So let's just see if it works anywhere else. Ah, see, it does, it works there. It works there, doesn't it? Do you know what? I'm going to put it where... And the only reason I'm not... Because it does actually work there. But the only reason I'm not putting it there is because it's covering up... I want that space. Because that space, look, just gives balance to the whole card. So I'm going to put it where I originally planned on putting it, which is on top of the flower. So you wouldn't be posting this card to anybody. In fact, let's go lower. Let's go onto that flower instead. No, I'm not. I'm going back to... Oh, come on, Phill. You're tormenting yourself. That's it. And that bit of glue will annoy me. So guess what's happening to that bit of glue? You know that's my tip for glue gel. If you get glue gel in places you don't want it. And there we go. So I'm not going to put any more glitter on this card. I might do later once everything's set. So by the time this card has set and all the flowers and everything are fixed in position and the butterfly, I might go around the white bits with Diamond Dazzle. I haven't decided yet. I mean, I just love this card. I love this card. So let's just show you where we're at. So all the colour is coming from those Radiant Lustre pigment powders, and it just looks phenomenal. The flowers with that lovely rainbow effect are shimmering and shining like nobody's business. And we've got the texture around the centre of the obsidian gems with the art stones. Remember, that was the mini art stones I've used for that, and I absolutely love that card. It's completely different to how I used these powders last time, and that is the joy of the Radiant Lustre pigment powders. So I will leave this to set, and then once everything's set, I will decide whether I want glitter on. I actually don't think it needs it, but me being me, it's probably going to be the base, this layer here, that gets glittered. So I'm going to leave that to set. I'll just pop it to one side and I'll quickly run through the stamps with you again, just in case you're chomping at the bit. With the Notebook Botanicals Collection, which is, like I say, it's one of my personal favourites that I've designed ever. So I'll put that there just so you can see that whilst we're working. You can see that's just catching the light as well. Beautiful. So the stamp I've used today is from the Notebook Botanicals Collection. I have put a link in the description for the video so it takes you straight to them, and it makes it easier for you to find everything, and you can just pop things in your basket and check out when you've got everything you want. So Serenity is the one that I've just used here. You then have Calmness, which is the same theme. They're all same but different, but they have different backgrounds, different textures within them. And you've got a different flower, a lot of different flower focal image. So that one is Calmness. As a set of 4, you imagine making little note cards with these. If you make little note cards with these, they're going to look beautiful. Then you've got Peaceful. You could do A6 cards. So this look, this top part is effectively an A6 card. So you could just bring everything in and it would just look beautiful. So that one is Peaceful. Different textures, different background, different flower. And then you've got Tranquility, which is another one of my favourites. So Tranquility would be really good for this set as well, because it's got the open areas and the flower look. So that is the 4 A6 stamps with the floral focal images on. Then you have the extra set. So you've got the wonderful wildflowers. So this is basically a bigger version, or the same as the A6, but without the background. So you've got 8 stamps in there, look. So let's just see if it's a set. No, that's the same size, look. Oh, it's a little bit bigger. It is a little bit bigger. So you've got the wonderful wildflowers. Then you have the wonderful wings, which is where we've got him from. So you've got the wonderful wings. Then you have the notebook textures, which are amazing. These two together are amazing, and you're just going to use them loads, constantly, for whatever you're making. Even on Christmas projects, these will work perfectly. So the notebook textures is where we've got the circles from, and the splatty textures there. And then the postmark paraphernalia is where we had the watermark, postmarks, which are what we've got here, look. So as a whole collection, it's just incredible. So 4 A6 and 4 A5 stamps are what I've used for this card. So a couple of things to tell you before I let you go. So remember, please, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build the channel up. So there are more and more videos exclusively for YouTube. This is one of them. So this won't be on my Facebook page. It will only be for YouTube. So just search for Crafting with Phill Martin and Sentimentally Yours, and subscribe and hit the notification bell. You can also, if you are on Facebook, join my Facebook group, which is a private group, and that means it's full of fabulous inspirational crafters, and it's very safe and friendly, and it's the same name. So search on Facebook for Crafting with Phill Martin and Sentimentally Yours and ask to join the group. I would very much appreciate you following my page on Facebook, which is Sentimentally Yours. And I also have my Phill Martin page, which on Facebook as well. And if you are on Twitter, you can find me there, Phill M. Martin. Or you can scan this code. Look at that, eh? Getting technical. You can scan that with your phone on your camera on your phone, and it will take you straight to my Twitter page. Or you can find me on Instagram. So Instagram, you can scan that code, or you can find me with Phill M. Martin. So both of those will work. So thank you very much, everybody. Please remember to like and share my videos. I would much appreciate it. All the products that I've used today are available on the website, providing they're in stock, which is honeypotcrafts.co.uk. That is my website. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed that. I've thoroughly enjoyed making that for you. And hopefully it's given you some inspiration and a different style of card to what you're used to seeing me do. But how amazing do these elements look from this card? It is quite deep, as you would expect from me, but it would go in a box. So thank you, everybody. Have a lovely day, and I shall catch up with you on the next video. Thank you. Bye.